Hi, everyone. This is Olga Afanasyeva, and we are in the next issue of VC ChatrOOm with our today's guest, who is Adam Niewiński from OTB Ventures. Hi, Adam.
Hi, it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure for having you here. Thank you for finding time in this busy period, as we found out. So Adam has over 18 years of experience as an entrepreneur and a senior executive. He has also been an angel investor for over a decade and co-founded several companies, including Expander, which was acquired by G Capital and Aviva, and the Platinum Bank, whose investors include Goldman Sachs and many others. Previously, Adam spent 15 years in Bank PKO of UniCredit Group, and now he's the general partner of OTB Ventures, which is the leading venture capital firm in Central and Eastern Europe, which invests in early growth, post-product, high-tech startups. And we will talk later about what is the investment strategy and which startups can apply to your fund. So thanks again, Adam. And for starter, I'm asking every guest, how did your routine change during the quarantine? Did it really change a lot, or is more or less the same? Because in our sector, we're pretty more pretty international, and we spend a lot of time in calls with the founders or with the other investors. So how is it for you?
So hello again, and with respect to the routine, actually it changed quite a lot. So like in the pre-COVID times, I would be probably traveling at least 2 days a week on average, and of course on average doesn't really say a lot, but whether these were like pan-European travels or over long haul travels, let's say on average it was like at least 2, sometimes 3 days a week. So obviously for the last I guess right now 6 or 7 weeks, I stopped counting. There is no travel at all. So this is, I would say, one major change. But other than that, let's say in terms of Zoom calls, that has also changed quite substantially. So again, in the past, I would have probably 1, maybe 2 Zoom calls a day. Yeah, again, on average. So there would be days without any Zooms, and there would be days with, let's say, 2 or 3 Zooms. Today, I cannot imagine a day without 2 or 3 Zoom calls. And it happens that there are 5 of them. And I must admit that having 5 meetings a day, it's okay. It's tiring, but it's okay. But 5 Zooms a day, it's a stretch. So actually, I don't like having too much Zoom calls these days. So I like it. I enjoy it. But it's different. I feel it's actually more tiring to have Zooms than face-to-face meetings, like regular traditional meetings. But it is what it is. It's like I really spend quite a lot of time sitting in front of the computer and looking at the camera, like at the top. So that's the new reality.
Oh yeah, it's a bit challenging to distinguish the type of activity. Either you're like at home at the same place, or you're in the office or in business at the same place again. Well, actually, you're pretty lucky because at the beginning of the year, just before COVID, you announced the new fund, $100 million fund, OTB Ventures, which will invest in the region, Central Eastern Europe, which is actually the largest for our region. I'm from Ukraine, for those who don't know. So, again, congrats on the good timing for raising the fund. And how was your activity so far as it coincided with the quarantine? Did it influence the strategy?
No, definitely not. Investing, VC investing is really a marathon. It's not a sprint. You really need to take a long-term approach, and you, I would say, ignore almost what's happening on, let's say, on the stock exchange. That's almost irrelevant. And of course, you do look at it. You do follow news, but in venture capital, really, you need to believe in some kind of trends that you are betting on. And of course, hopefully these are the right ones, but then it's good to stick with your investment thesis rather to change it each quarter or each year. So for us, we decided to invest in deep tech in the region. So our strategy from the get-go was that we are operating in Central and Eastern Europe. So anything between Estonia and Balkans included, anything between Germany and Russia, both excluded. But this is 170 million people, 170 million people extremely talented technically. And we decided that we want to focus on this market opportunity and want to support the most innovative teams that are really disrupting the economy. We are more of a Series A investor, so we would be investing post-product, post-revenue. And this again haven't changed. I would say we also believe in some of the trends. So for instance, we believe in the automation, meaning that software robots, actually also physical robots, but we are more on a software side than the hardware side. So that the robots will, software robots and the robots overall will to a large extent substitute a lot of basic labor. So automation in terms of the work flow, in terms of the production, all sorts of automation processes. This is something that we are really very much believing in. So this again, there is no reason to change that, because we believe that the automation will only benefit from the current crisis, if there is any way to benefit.
Thank you for sharing. And let's talk a little bit about the region. So your focus are startups, companies from Central Eastern Europe. And apart from geographic proximity, for you, you're in Poland, and from the fact that you're familiar with the region, definitely you have been doing business and investing as an angel, as VC as well. How would you define it? I mean, like, what is an opportunity in this region in CEE comparing to other ones? Like, we know about good engineers, maybe like something else. And the second thing is that like, maybe you can elaborate it, like what are the opportunities, is that recently in March, I think you've announced that you became the partner of the Draper Venture Network as the partner in the region. So is a good sign for CEE as well. So like the first part of the question is, what is in this region for you, for the fund and for you? And what opportunities are opening with the Draper Venture Network?
Sure. So as mentioned, like we really, really do believe that the biggest natural resource of the region is talent. So it's not coal, it's not oil, maybe unfortunately, but it's the talent. It's the human intellectual capability that which translates into a lot of engineers, software engineers, data engineers. So this is something that we are definitely betting on. Actually, we are not betting that much on the market itself, meaning economic market. So we are not focusing on the companies which are doing business in the region. We are focusing on the companies that are coming out with unique tech in the global scale, and that we can support them to become global champions. So for us, the only interesting businesses are not those which are trying to do business in Ukraine, Poland, or Romania, but those businesses who are emerging from those markets and have such transformative ideas that they can really become global champions. And our role is to support those companies, but providing money, but also providing network, providing contacts, helping them to secure clients. And this is actually part of the reason why we decided to accept the invitation from Draper Venture Network, which is the single only global, I would say, club or association of leading VC funds globally. So in Europe, it's us and Draper Esprit. Draper Esprit is a London-based, listed on the London Stock Exchange VC fund, one of the leading one in Europe. But of course, the network consists of basically leading VC funds in any part of the globe. So from China to Singapore, from US to Mexico. So in this capacity, we are capable of doing a few things together. So we are able to do deals together. We are able to share the deal flow. We are able to analyze the deals together. But then also we do have a common resources in the Bay Area, in San Mateo, of a team of people who are supporting our portfolio companies. So rather than sending someone to US or putting our own OTB team in US that would need to build a network, that would need to build the relationships, we are having a dedicated team, a shared resource in San Mateo consisting of 4 people full-time who are supporting our portfolio companies in building alliances, in approaching the corporates. So this is a really, really powerful tool to support the companies from our region, but basically from any region, to develop internationally or globally.
That's great and very valuable for the companies, which get not only the capital but the network and the opportunities as well. And how do your portfolio companies are feeling this day? Did they have some like problems? I mean, those you can share, of course, or did they find the new ways of like constructing business model? Like, what was there an impact?
I guess I can say that we are fortunate enough not to have too many problems in our portfolio. So this is probably due to a few reasons. Most of our companies are working with corporates or enterprises. So these are typically software as a service business models, post-product, post-revenue, so already having some traction. And of course, what we are experiencing in some of the companies is a bit slowdown in terms of getting new contracts. So it's not that we are completely immune and our companies are completely immune. Some processes have slowed down. Some businesses are operating not as they used to. So procurement processes are slower, decision making is a bit slower because there are other problems for the companies, for the corporates that they need to face. But many of them are actually speeding up processes of buying software, because this, as mentioned, some of them, it allows to substitute labor. So some of the companies that cannot really utilize all of the resources currently because some of their employees are just locked down and they cannot provide them the whole infrastructure at home, they want to use other solution. They want to use software solution to substitute that. So I would say we see some of the companies which are actually growing even faster. We see some of the companies that have completely neutral effect. We see some of the companies with a bit slower new sales pipeline developing. And in one case, we of a company which is basically working on Chinese and Japanese markets, so the one that was hit first, mostly in offline retail. That was probably hit most, but actually in this case we already see this slowly coming out and ramping up, and actually this might be the company that will I would say forget about the COVID effect fastest.
I want to remind our attendees on Zoom and also on Facebook, you can write down your questions in the Q&A section or under the video on Facebook Live, and I will get back to it in just a couple of questions from me. So continuing about the VC and the routine, do you think the venture capital industry will change after this quarantine time in the post-COVID or like during COVID world, or everything will get back on track and no deals via Zoom as everyone is, like forecasting?
Like I actually I do believe that there are gonna be some changes, and I'm trying, to come back with thoughts to 2001, 2002, which I remember because at that time I was a startup founded by myself, so I remember the dot-com bubble burst quite well. And then I remember also the crisis of 2008, 2009. And actually, there are some things that are worth to remember. So, venture market actually bottomed out like 12 months after the moment that everyone thought it's the beginning of the crisis. So there is some kind of a lagging time between the moment that we start to feel it's beginning of the crisis and the VC, which is actually slowing a bit its activity. This is the reason. The reason is that most of the VC funds, if they put a term sheet, or I would say any reasonable VC fund, once they put a term sheet, they are doing a deal. They don't want to play around. They don't want to, they know that they want to be on the market for the next 10 or 20 years. So they cannot lose their face just for the sake of one deal or one transaction. So many deals are still being closed right now. And we are just going, as we planned to. So no changes in terms of the condition, no changes in terms of anything. We are just doing all the paperwork, and hopefully we'll be closing in June. So this is, I would say, one of the reasons. Second reason is that actually VCs are having quite a lot of money still, and probably some of them will start having problems raising new money, raising new funds. So probably going right now on the market, being a VC fund and trying to raise money is a challenge. So probably we'll see less money in a year or two than we are seeing right now, because those VC funds are quite recently, some of them very recently like us, some of them quite recently raised money, and they want to invest it. They want to invest it well. And actually, the other interesting thing is that angel and seed investing should remain without change, and it's rather be the rounds of, I would say, late stage valuations which will drop. So actually, there is going to be a bit of uncertainty of how to price A and B rounds, knowing that C and D rounds are going to be much lower than they used to be pre-COVID. So we won't probably see those immediate growths of valuations, which makes some of the companies unicorns within 3 years. It's going to just take a bit longer. So so we need to probably come up with a bit slower pace of growth of valuations, looking forward to the next 2 or 3 years.
That's an interesting point. Thanks for sharing it. So, and the last question from me, I believe that the leader is the reader. So can you recommend one or maybe several books for the venture capitalists to read, or for those who want to enter the market and to invest?
So I would say that there is definitely one that I really like, which is 0 to 1 of Peter Thiel. So I would say this is a must read for any entrepreneur. I would, it's like being a VC investor, you should probably expect the founder to read it before placing a term sheet. I'm kidding, of course, but it's really a must read. So I would definitely start with that one, because I believe you cannot really learn from the books of how to be a great entrepreneur, but this book is the one that I would say stands out completely.
Yeah, I really like it too. It's one of the things that people should read as well. Thank you for sharing. We will add it under this video, which will be uploaded on YouTube on our channel. And now we have a question from the audience. Do you see IP, which stands for intellectual property, I guess the same meaning, coming out of academia as a good source for innovation? So academia and venture capital industry, if there is a match for you.
Uh, I would say definitely yes. Just that, as mentioned, we are really not a seed investor. So typically, IP coming out of university typically goes first through a stage of seed investor or angel investor. So we are more of a post-product, post-revenue. So sometimes it happens that the intellectual property is coming directly from the university, from the academia, and it's already a ready product and is getting at least an early revenue traction. But in my experience, it's quite rare. So typically, it's the seed investors, the angel investors, who are helping taking it off the university, building a company, building a proper structure, and then it's about the time for Series A. And as mentioned, we are more of a Series A investor. So
Thanks. And I think the last question from me and from the audience: do you see some interesting trends in terms of industries, in terms of different verticals, which are opened and open from the new side during this period, like quarantine, post-quarantine? Something, well, apart from Zoom, of course, who is known to everyone. Maybe something interesting you have spotted in this. So entrepreneurs will, like start working from day one, from today.
I would definitely come back to the idea that we are a very big fan of, which is automation. Because obviously, there are some obvious trends which everyone will be quoting, like telemedicine, or telehealth. It's, like anything which is, which is going these days, like digital entertainment. So these are the trends that we are obviously seeing. But I would say a much broader trend and a very, I would say, tech advanced trend is automation. So allowing the software robots do manual work of humans. So if you can, and you can take any basically area and try to come up with a thought whether this could be automated, whether software robots or physical robots, because obviously, as mentioned, like we also invest in hardware, though we are far more excited about software. Whether this can be substituted and allow people, rather to do a very basic, repetitive, and boring work, to do something different and leave this work to the software robot. So this could be anything like one of our companies doing it, which is doing automation of testing. So if you can imagine, like like large telecoms or even financial institutions who are having their digital apps for the clients, they need to test their solution, whether everything is well connected, whether everything is properly working. In telcos, you've got 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. You've got, like CRM, billing systems. This all needs to work together. And they employ, like 100 engineers just doing, the manual testing on this infrastructure all day long. So rather than making those people, like really smart, skilled software engineers doing the testing and going through the scripts, whether it's well connected or not, whether something is properly connected or not, make those people do more creative stuff and leave this to software robots, which can do it faster, cheaper, and actually far more precise, because they can go through any possible script rather than some of the scripts. So, like automation is going to be a big topic. And I can encourage anyone, to go into this direction, because it's just the beginning. We are just at the very beginning of this long-term automation trend.
Great. I hope we will hear the announcement of the new deals made by your fund, and maybe even in Ukraine. Thank you. It was
I'd
yeah.
definitely love to.
Come to Ukraine and invest.
Well,
um,
as you said in the beginning, I am a big fan of Ukraine. I've invested in Platinum Bank, being like a co-founder of it. So for me, it's always a great pleasure to come to Ukraine. So that would be something that I would really look forward.
Great news. Thank you, Adam. It was VC ChatrOOm with Adam Niewiński, general partner of OTB Ventures. And as a reminder, VC ChatrOOm issues you can find on YouTube, and you can subscribe here when this video will be uploaded. And the VC ChatrOOm is powered and brought to you by Olga Afanasyeva, me, and my colleague and soulmate Olga Stoliarchuk. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Adam. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.